8:44 on your hometown station. Always a great time on Wednesday mornings with our segment, the Ask the Doc, from our good friends at All Creatures Veterinary Center and also Canyon Country Veterinary Hospital. Good morning, Dr. Maryweather.
Good morning, you guys.
So you had a very busy Labor Day weekend, huh?
Yeah, we always get lots of visitors during the holidays.
I'll bet, because it seems like the time when people are all probably taking their pets out and having fun and things like that, and dogs get injured, or they get into something they're not supposed to, or whatever,
especially
right?
in camping.
Ah, yes. That seems to be the big thing, and they seem to get, it's like more foot injuries and things like that, right?
Foot
on
injuries
occasions?
and eating things they shouldn't.
Ah, foxtails by any chance as well?
A few of those, yeah.
I want to talk, though, today, because we talk a lot about dogs, and we seem to, since in the course of time that you guys have been coming out here, we touch on cats, but we haven't really focused on cats and cat owners, and I love cats. I don't have any right now. I had one that lived to be 18 years old at the end of 2011. She finally left us, and with dogs, it's not that my dogs don't like cats, but it's always trying to separate them. It's got to separate the litter box, separate the food, and the whole 9 yards. So right now we're holding on. But I know that a lot of people who want cats or own cats especially, I want to talk about that. And first of all, what to do when the little devils love to claw things.
They love to claw things.
And what alternatives are there? I know that there are, declawing is kind of a controversial thing with cats. And I will admit we've had it done. And one cat just never really adjusted to it at all. So I'm not a fan of it. I didn't know what else to do with him, and we finally did it. But it's something I would never probably do again.
It's one of those things that it used to be very, very common. And now people, trying out other alternatives, at least first.
In this case, my one cat especially, he had like anxiety issues over it and would lick the fur off of his paw, right above his paws, and just never got over it. And that was the thing. If there's any other way around it. So what would you suggest as alternatives? And when is a good time to maybe start working with cats to try and, I know it's just a habit of theirs. They like to do it, but it's
a natural behavior, especially. Part of the issue is that you have to start it right when you get the cat. Especially, the cute little kittens, like that's really your window of opportunity as far as showing them what appropriate behaviors are. And so it's, making sure they have lots of surfaces that they can scratch and they're allowed to scratch. Some cats prefer vertical scratching, and others prefer horizontal scratching. So it's kind of, trying out a few things and seeing what works best with your particular cat.
So like some of those where they have the little kitty houses, they have the carpeting on that's something they can work on.
Yeah,
I know
my cat loves her cat condo.
Yes.
She gets a little of both with that one.
Well, and that's good, and that's the thing to really think about early on. I know when we had cats originally, we were younger when we got our first cats, and we let them outside. We didn't think there was anything of it, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But they did a lot of their clawing outside, so it wasn't as much an issue in the house until we moved to another neighborhood where there was a lot of wildlife out there, and we decided to keep them in. And first of all, when you're moving to a new neighborhood, you want to keep them in anyway.
Yes,
because they seem to have that homing beacon that wants them to run away back to where their original territory was. But then from there, that was when the problem started, because at that point we hadn't trained them on that. So the earlier the better. Just doing the typical training thing, just like you do with a puppy when they're about to choose something. Give them something else to focus on. Make sure that you kind of is there something you could do from like a treat training or anything like that with cats?
A little bit. Kind of, especially with these type of issues where it's it's a natural behavior. You can't train a cat to never scratch anything ever. And so I usually focus more on give them so many things they can do that are fun that they never want to do anything that's not good,
right?
Because they just don't have time in their day to get around to it.
So in other words, tear the hole in that nice grass cloth wallpaper, or in a hole in the carpet, and try and
put a piece of furniture over that one spot on the carpet that you can't get them to stop.
Right, that's perfect. We need to take a quick traffic break, Doctor, and then we'll be back with more about cats. And we are back with our good friend Dr. Maryweather from All Creatures Veterinary Center, located on Lyons Avenue in the Victorian buildings there. Really, really nice. It's between Newhall Avenue and Main Street. You can't miss them. You also do some work at Canyon Country Veterinary Hospital there on Soledad, correct?
Yep, we got a clinic there too.
Awesome. Now, we were talking about cats, and we were talking about, because declawing is such a controversial thing, and in my case especially, and I did it years ago, and that my cat never really recovered anxiety-wise from that, so it's really not the best option, and not one that you would recommend, correct?
No.
Now, we also have the what are called soft paws that you can install, which are still temporary, but they can at least, for the most part, minimize the damage. But
I kind of use soft paws as, for most people, it's kind of a temporary solution to give you time to work on the behavior itself.
Right.
You know, so one of the reasons cats scratch is because they are constantly shedding, you know, kind of little, you know, flakes off their claws as, you know, their claws are growing. And so, you know, you pretty much super glue the soft claws in place. And then when the cat sheds naturally, it comes off. And
Right.
so you do have to replace them.
right, and that's what we found. And our one cat just bit them off. I don't know how he did it, but he was able to bite them off. So that was one of the issues. But talking about this, because I had mentioned in the previous segment that originally where we lived, and like I said, we were younger, we didn't even really think much about it. And I always grew up and let the cats out, and they always came back in. Prior to moving to our new place, where we decided to leave them in. But and that's where they got a lot of their natural clawing out of the way. But is it a good idea, especially here in Santa Clarita, to let your cats roam outside on their own?
Definitely not here. We've definitely too much wildlife, too many raccoons, too many coyotes in particular. People, you know, unfortunately lose their cats very, very commonly.
I have seen it happen. I've actually unfortunately seen where a coyote running through the Santa Clarita River, Santa Clara River with you know, someone's pet in his mouth. It's a very sad thing. So that's very true. And not to mention also the other trouble you can get in with other cats and other wildlife from a territory standpoint as well, right? Because cats are incredibly territorial.
Cats get into a lot of fights with each other, and it's, you know, it's definitely one of those things where, you know, outdoor cats not as long of a lifespan, generally speaking, as our indoor.
That's true, and because they can pick up also all kinds of diseases and things like that.
Not just diseases, but I mean, they get into so much more trouble.
Well, not to mention hit by cars.
Yeah.
Other things that they can get into, even picked up by other people who decide they want to have a cat and not go through the proper channels of getting one.
Or they think it's a stray for whatever reason.
And it's also important if for whatever reason you do that, make sure that they're tagged, that they've got a collar on with the information.
Microchips.
And microchips as well. We were talking about that. You guys actually have a very good microchip program at your clinic.
Yep.
And that actually is very, very useful and universal, where anybody can actually scan it. So that's a really important thing. So in that, and keeping them in, and also talk about moving, because I mentioned that too. If you're moving to another location, and let's say you have been the type to let your cat out, you want to keep them inside the home for how long?
I mean, it's going to kind of depend on where you are. You know, if you're moving within the same neighborhood, you might have more trouble with your cat going back to your old house, for example, but then at least your cat also knows the area.
Right.
I generally would say, depending on how smart the cat is, and it's a lot of its personality too. If your cat is the type to hang out on the porch, you're not going to have as much trouble as the one who wants to, you know, kind of check out the neighborhood, including 2 neighborhoods over. You know, so it's going to be really dependent on the cat. I would think generally months that you would want your cat to be inside long enough to kind of view this new place as home.
Right, because they are territorial. They will try to track their way back to their old stomping grounds, correct?
Yeah, or find someone completely new in the process.
Right, and that's what happened when we moved to a new neighborhood. There's at least a couple people on my street who said, I don't know what happened to our cat. It's like, well, did you let them stay inside or did you let them go out? Well, we let them go out. Well, you know, they probably tried to head back home or went off and couldn't find their way back, right?
Well, and they can get into a lot more trouble when they don't know the neighborhood. They don't know the kind of social setup of all the cats.
Right, and spaying and neutering, of course, incredibly important for both males and females. You might think, oh, I don't want to snip my male cat. I mean, once he's, you know, but he can still go out and get into trouble, and that's also where there's a lot of fighting, you know, in that type of situation.
You know, neutered cats don't get testicular cancer.
Right. And there's and also from that health perspective, dogs and cats, very important to have them. Not just, I know a lot of people with their dogs, oh, you know,
boys and girls.
You know, guys, for some reason I've known that they get anthropomorphic or whatever with their male pets. I don't want to do that to them, even though you're really not. You're doing them a disservice if you're not going to officially breed them. You need to you should have them neutered. So that's very important on both ends, and also females, of course. You know, the first time you go through, especially a female cat with going into heat, you will definitely take them in. And there are programs out there where you can actually, you know, there are situations.
There are
where
multiple ways you can get it done. Yeah.
Right, that's true. And you guys also offer the spaying and neutering at your location. So that's good. Spay and neuter your animals, cats especially, from a standpoint, start their training early so they don't claw up your house, and try and find something that they can actually find to claw, because that's all they need to do from a natural process. And letting them outside, that is something that you want to really
Avoid
take into
if
consideration
possible.
and avoid because of the wildlife here in the hills in Santa Clarita. And also just make sure that also their vaccinations are up to date and that they are microchipped. Very
Yep.
good. Oh, always fun. Dr. Maryweather, I guess you're going off to work now, huh?
Yeah, I gotta go back. Thanks for
So
having me.
are you going to be at All Creatures? You're going to be at
All Creatures.
All Creatures.
Yep.
So remember that if any of your veterinary needs, All Creatures Veterinary Center, you can go in and see Dr. Maryweather today. It is located on Lyons Avenue between Main Street and Newhall on the south side in the Victorian Building. Thank you again so much. Always fun.
The Powerhouse fire continues to blaze, and 30 homes have been destroyed.
What does the Tilted Kilt brand represent to you?